Welcome to Ego Netcast. Today I'm talking to Chris Reimer. My name is Martin Lindeskog, and this is a follow-up conversation. Hello, Chris.
Martin, how are you doing?
Doing fine. Yourself?
I feel great. It's such an honor to be here with you again.
Good. It's great to hear. And check here the volume here. So, do you hear me fine?
I can hear you great. How about yourself? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I'm doing it. Great.
Excellent.
So thanks for coming on the show again. So it was a couple of years ago last time. I think it was in 2012.
Seems like a long time ago.
Yeah. And so the bio, people could go to Chris Reimer on Twitter. So, and there you now have written a book. So in your bio, it's saying best-selling author of Happy Work. Link below. Humanist, communicator, former CPA, current wine drinker, coffee, 24/7, 365. And then book number 2 in progress. So that will be interesting to talk about also. And beverages, wine, coffee, and maybe tea also. So
I suspect that you would want to discuss tea, so I think we can do that if you like.
That's great, Chris. But first off, what have happened since 2012? Do you want to do a short story there? You have been through many things and done lots of development there.
It's very true, and I will promise to try to be short. As the ruler of the show, though, you have to cut me off if I continue on for too long. So
take your time, Chris.
I'll tell you what, a lot has happened since 2012. So, in the year 2012, when we first spoke on your show, I was several years into my new career as a communications professional, as a social media advisor, as a consultant. And I was working at that time for a wonderful firm here in St. Louis. I ended up spending 3.5 years there. And during that time, I started writing my book. So I really began writing my book probably in 2011 or 2012. The book, as you previously mentioned, Happy Work, available in fine bookstores everywhere. And, it was, for me, it was just such an amazing project, so difficult to work on, so many emotions, just actually so much work, so much heavy lifting, as we say. But I started working on it, and then, it was a nonfiction business book. And so, it was just going to be like every other business book. And then, I was inspired to some degree by Bob Burg and his book, The Go-Giver, which he co-authored, and I thought to myself, humans learn best by storytelling. Maybe I should turn this into a business parable. Maybe I should turn this into a story. A style of writing which I have no experience like whatsoever, except maybe like writing, pieces for high school English or something, So when I ran the idea by my publisher, this was back in like 2013, I was really nervous that they were going to like the idea. And as funny as that sounds, and they did like it. And then I was like, oh my goodness, what have I done? Like all that work, I had a nonfiction business book, 65% written. I was well on my way. And I was liking how it was turning out. But my publisher was really cool about it. They said, just go try it. Try it. Start writing. And they said something that really stuck with me. They said, this sounds silly to say, but they said, in fiction, you can just make it all up, and I was like, okay, yeah, that is what fiction is. It's made up story. But they said what they were getting at was that, using fiction and using the power of storytelling, I could craft the message exactly how I wanted it. So to prove a point about kindness in the workplace, for instance, I did not need to go do any research and find a great real life example at this certain company and then interview the people who work there to get the real scoop on what kindness was like in that workplace. I could just write a story about it and just make it up, with obviously some inspiration from real life. And when they said that to me, I thought, okay, like I'm kind of I get that. I can feel the power that fiction can give me to tell the exact story that I want and try to make people feel exactly the way I want them to feel. So anyway, I started writing the fiction version of the book. I think the book was going to be called The Happy Work Agreement. I changed it to Happy Work, and I wrote this story. And I finished that story in February 2014. At the same time in my work life, I had gone to work for a coffee company here in St. Louis, Missouri, middle of the United States, my hometown, my home country. And so, at the time, I thought that was going to be a dream job because I knew a lot of the people who worked there. I knew the owners of the organization. As you well know, I love coffee. I drink it every day of the year. Right now it is 7:00 in the morning here, and I'm drinking coffee as I speak to you. And I thought to myself, this is going to be a wonderful opportunity for me. So I moved away from the marketing firm and I moved to the coffee company, and my dreams of it becoming, like my lifetime job or the place where I really make an impact, on a company, truly have a case study for myself on what can happen when you apply really amazing marketing, communication, and storytelling to a business. They did not turn out that way at all. So this is an interesting timeline for me. Was throughout 2014, I turned the book into the publisher in February of 2014, and the book is not coming out until February of 2015. It takes a full year after finishing it for the publisher to do all their stuff and get it all ready. And so I'm waiting for a whole year. I'm tweeting about happiness in the workplace. I'm doing some speaking engagements on it. And to be quite honest, I was attempting to find my own happiness at that coffee company and was struggling big time to make that happen. And it ended up not being a great place to work. It ended up being a place where all of the things that I believe about communication, I simply couldn't apply there. It was a very difficult environment. I don't think they're bad people by any means, and in the small chance that, they may ever listen to this. Of course, I'll be tweeting it out once you post it. And posting about it on all my social channels. The truth is, it was just a terrible fit, and what's interesting now is I have moved on. I kind of had to move on. They told me to get a new job. That was after 9 months of being there. I'm doing some work now at Maryville University, which is a up and coming, amazing university here in St. Louis that I'm doing much of the same great work at Maryville now, and it is being very well received by all of our key demographics, all of our key stakeholders, the people who are reading all of the tweets, watching all the videos that we're creating, reading the Facebook posts. They're all greatly appreciating it. The fans of the coffee company were appreciating the work I was doing too. You could tell our sales were up. Our online sales were up. That was because we make great coffee. I should say they make great coffee. And because of the marketing I was doing. It was because of the email marketing I was doing. I was sending emails whenever we had a new coffee from Kenya or Peru or Indonesia. You send an email out to people and they buy the coffee same day. They're waiting for our coffees. They don't do much email marketing anymore now that I'm not there. They don't. So I'm doing much of the same great work at Maryville. But at Maryville, it's a university, so it's a learning environment. It is being incredibly well received. And it's working out so much better. And, I was thinking about this the other night. Why does it still bother me that my previous job didn't go well when my new job, and I've been there 18 months now, so in next April, I'll be celebrating 2 years there. I honestly hope to stay there for a long time. I'm getting so much out of the job. I feel like they're getting so much out of the work I'm doing. It's a great match.
Congrats.
I was thinking, thank you. I was thinking to myself, why does it still bother me that last job didn't go well? And then I think I was driving home after a day at work where things just went really well. And I thought to myself, I came up with the reason why. And it was that those previous experiences still have me second guessing myself, even though I can tell it's going well at Maryville. I can see all of the numbers, like just the easy stuff to measure. All of our followerships way up. I built a Snapchat for the university basically from scratch. We didn't have Snapchat. I'm 45 years old and I figured it out. So an old guy figured out Snapchat. I
haven't figured it out yet, and I'm soon 50. So.
Well, I mean, I don't use it. I mean, I have it personally, but I don't have many followers on it. I just don't care. I'm having too much fun using it on behalf of my employer. As I walk around campus, I have these 18, 19, 20-year-olds. Many of them know by my name, but my nickname on campus is Snapchat Guy, believe it or not. And also, I'll be walking across campus and someone will say, "Hey, Snapchat Guy," and it'll be a student that, we have a couple thousand students on campus, so I don't know them all, but I know many of them, and they call me Snapchat Guy. And, it's funny, I'll take it. If they can't remember Chris, they can always remember Snapchat Guy. And what's cool about it is getting to know them and having them know who I am. They see me carrying around my big iPhone, 6 Plus or whatever, and they know that I can promote something for them if they need help. And they love being on the Maryville Snapchat. Like, it's a badge of honor to be on it.
Good.
Going back to what I was saying about why those previous job experiences bugged me. Well, one, I wrote a book about happiness in the workplace. And as the book was debuting on February 17th of 2015, I had just been told 18 days previous to that I was going to be losing my job. I found out January 30th. So I have this glorious moment in my life. I don't mean to sound overly dramatic, but I'll just tell you the truth. It was a huge moment in my life to have my first book come out. And I was having all of these heavy emotions about losing this other job and having to tell my wife, and having her really freak out about it, like more than me, just because, well, what wife would want their husband to lose their job? And then, that doesn't sound very exciting. So, I'm giving these speeches about happiness in the workplace while I was sad. I was having to hold myself together, and I couldn't quite tell the truth yet that I had lost my job, because the coffee company was very nice enough to let me continue to look for a job while employed. So they kept me on board for 2 whole months while I looked for a job.
Great.
They gave me 2 months, and I used the 2 months, and I found this job at Maryville. So I should say something nice about them, and that they did help me out there. But I think so. 2013 was a big year because I was writing this book and trying to give birth to it. 2014, I started a job that ended up not going well. 2015, the book came out and it went just so well. I'm so proud of the book. Yes, I could have sold many more copies, and it's selling slowly now, but it's still selling. And then 2015, I start this new job. In 2016, now, as I speak to you, I'm right in the middle of this job and I'm loving it. And I don't see myself leaving it. I really like the environment there. And I'm writing my second book now, which is a book on social media. And so I've had some happy times during those 4 years that have passed, but some difficult times too. But I have to say, I'm feeling good now.
Great to hear. Thanks for that journey. It is fascinating. And I have some follow-up questions there and some introspection there also when I was listening to you. A quick one. How big is Maryville University? I went to a college university in Manchester, New Hampshire, and it was maybe 1,500 or students. And when I was walking around the campus there, I was called the nickname by some as Quicksilver, like the clothing brand, because I often wear that kind of thing. Yeah.
Interesting. Maryville has a mixture of what we call on-ground students, traditional students who come in. And those students are actually a mixture of what we call traditional, sometimes we call them trad, short for traditional, students of traditional college age mixed with adults who are coming back to school.
Yeah.
We have several thousand of those students, maybe 3,000. And then we have maybe, I don't have these numbers right in front of me, but over 3,000 online students. So we have a very wonderful online nursing program that started several years ago that already has several thousand students in it. So being in the online space is only a few years for us. We've only been doing it for a few years, 3, 4, 5 years maybe, but it's been going very, very well. There are nursing students from all over the country that, don't have to leave their home in order to get the training and the degree they need to become a nurse. So right now we have total, I think, 6,500 students.
Yeah.
And we just had a record freshman class. We don't call them freshmen. We call them first-year students because the traditional freshman, sophomore, junior, senior model assumes that you're only going to go to school for 4 years. But if you want to become a physical therapist, or what we call PT here in America, you have to go to school for at least 6 years. So we started calling them first-year students. But we just had a record enrollment for our first-year students. So, some universities are struggling because it is too expensive. Even we're too expensive, and we've said so. We're trying to stop raising tuition as often as we do. We need college to be accessible. We, as in America, we need college to be more accessible to more students and a more diverse population. It's good for our country and it's good for the world. So we're working on that to the best of our ability. But lots of colleges are struggling. They just don't have enough students. Not enough students can afford them. And so there are colleges that are actually going out of business, as crazy as it sounds. And we don't have that problem right now. So we're on the rise, and that actually also makes it a great place to work. Certainly an easier place to work, but a great place to work also.
That's interesting. Yeah, at Southern New Hampshire University, called New Hampshire College previously, where they started out when I went there in 97 to 2000 with Blackboard and with online education and so on. So that they were very early there, and they started this 3-year program that was an integrating experience. So you learn from the different topics and areas, and the teachers talk to each other and communicating on the levels and so on. And then at the end of every semester, you had an integrating experience and a presentation. We called it Hell Week by students because you had to show everything that you have learned for a semester, and then did a presentation for your fellow classmates and students and the teachers and the principals and the presidents and whoever wanted to show up and participate in the presentation. So it was very interesting, and it was a new thing, this 3-year program. To get a degree in 3 years instead of general 4 years. So it was a first thing there at Southern New Hampshire University. So and I liked how they used the technology. It was mandatory to have to get a computer at that time, 97.
I see.
So that was fun. Interesting to hear about that. And then to go back then to the coffee and so on. I'm writing a book on tea. It will be a book series of tea, and I was thinking of doing a fable or some fiction first, and talk about the Boston Tea Party history and so on, and also like a moral story. But then you have all the characters, you have all the plots and whatever and whatnot. And then I thought about this fact book that you write like non-fiction, traditional like coloring book or recipes or whatever, or how to prepare tea, but that's already written in a way. So then my illustrator, John Cox, he came up with the idea, how about do a series of books with like a children books, the format in the size and the volume, and do interesting illustration together with sketches and thoughts about tea. So it will be like 8 books, and I have a crowdfunding campaign there now for the first book on black tea, and then another book on black tea, and then green tea and white, yellow, and then things that also not is tea, but people often call it tea, like rooibos, red tea.
Interesting.
So when you're talking about your story going from this non-fiction, doing that, and then going back to fiction, it's interesting because I've done that, but in a way, other way around, you could say. I want to have continued conversation online on blogs and others about tea. So that's my thing. What I'm struggling with the process, so I could hear you because it's self-publication. With how long time it could take with an company, publishing company, and so on. But also, if you do it everything yourself, it could also take time. And this crowdfunding. So you gave me lots of inspiration there, Chris. So I appreciate that very much.
Let me say something real quick about publishing. So, that people will always ask, "Oh, should I, try to get a book deal? Should I work with a publisher or should I self-publish?" And of course, there is no right answer. There's only one or the other. You just have to decide what's good for you. My motivation in working with a publisher was, well, one, I can tell you that if you get the right publisher, they really do help with a lot of the work that it takes to make a book available for sale and also good. There are some publishers that don't help very much with the marketing of a book. And I would say that that's most publishers. My publisher definitely tried, and I love my publisher, but it wasn't like they were totally amazing at the marketing part. The marketing of the book is, with most publishers, is really left to the author. It really sounds crazy that that's the case, but it is so. Of course, when you publish, the downside of going with a publisher, well, one, I had never really thought about it, but your point is, to make this point is important. There is more of a lead time, so I finished the book in February 2014. You can imagine how proud I was of it. And then I had to sit around and wait for 12 months, a whole year. I was like, let's put this thing out now. I can't wait to get the word out about this. And it was just not the way that that publisher works. And so I think one of the pros, one of the good reasons maybe to use self-publishing is, it could be a bad thing, I guess, but you are in control. You can make the book look the way you want. You can price it the way you want, which can help you make the amount of money that you want. You can make a lot more per sale than you can if you go with a publisher. One thing I did fail to mention too is that I will admit to you that having your book published by a publisher, a lot of people are going to look at the book and think it's much cooler.
Yeah.
And it's just, I have to admit, this was important to me, partly because I wanted, the amount of money.
Chris, you're already a cool guy, right?
I suppose, but the thing is, you want the book to be read by strangers.
Yeah, I know.
You need the book to be absorbed by people and respected. And for some reason, lots of readers respect a published book more than self-published. And so it was important to me to go that way and have this book. I wanted it to get respect. And so I think the book is a great read and it deserves respect. But for some people, you see a self-published book and they're just not as interested in it. It's just part of life, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So you're going to do self-publish, you think?
Yep. And I must say there, Chris, you have my respect already and for a long time. And that's why it's so nice to hear you talking about this and have you on the show for a second time. So, and also interesting to see how you ended up with your new job. And we could talk about that also, how you could use social media to getting leads and to getting a new job that you are happy at. But yeah, I'm going on with self-publishing. And it's the big book fair starting tomorrow here in Gothenburg, Sweden. It's, I think, the second biggest one in Europe after German book fair. So I will go to book publishers and others. I don't have a name there yet, so to speak. So I'm open to get a publisher later on, and I have some contacts in America with publishers and so on. But this book is first book of a series of books is so special. So I think I have to do it in a way myself. But it's lots of hustle, lots of struggles. But I see it in front of me, and that's what I'm when I hear your story about happiness. Like this coffee roaster. When I heard about it, I was so happy for you because I knew how much you like coffee. But I understand that thing, and the same thing for me for clients to find that for new media, but it has to be that fit. And I've been doing this social media for a long time, and I mean, in a way, it's still early how to use social media. So I'm very looking forward to your book, and I think that will be one of my favorite, and a book that I could use in education and client work and so on.
Yeah.
So that's great. Do you want to tell a bit more about how you used social media in order to get to your job here at academia? And also, you talk about academia and university. Have they applied your ideas to the business world?
Oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting question. Are there happy work principles in place at Maryville? I haven't been able to really affect that too much there. But I can tell you that overall, it is a pretty good place to work, and no, not everyone is happy there. That's welcome to the real world, but it is a pretty decent place to work. It's a really great place to work. So, I have quite a few coworkers who have read my book, and I always go and have a coffee with them at the campus coffee shop, and I talk with them about what they liked about it and what challenged them in the book, maybe what they disliked or disagreed with in the book. So that is one thing that I've been doing that is a great answer to a question that I get a lot. They say, I don't run the company. I'm not one of the upper management. How can I take your book? How can I apply? How can I change my workplace when I don't lead? I don't run the company. And I always say, lead from your position. Wherever you're at, do the work of leading from your position. So in this case, I love the fact that my book has been read by some of my coworkers, and my book is in the Maryville University bookstore for sale, and my book is also in the library. If you don't feel like buying it, you can go to the Maryville University Library. And I have these conversations with my coworkers, and I'm leading from my position. Those people are appreciating what I have to say about work, and they know where I'm coming from. They know how I feel about this stuff. So whether I'm one of the big top leaders in the company or not, I am building a coalition of people who believe what I believe. They understand what I'm saying, and they will hopefully take the principles and work on those principles in their departments at Maryville. So no, I did not march into the president's office and say, I need you to read this book, and then we are going to have a conversation about it. There will be a quiz afterwards, and I will make sure that you understand everything about it. Our president does like to read, and I don't think he's read my book yet, and that's fine. What's interesting, though, is leading from my position means living these core values out, living these core values out in everything that I do to the best of my ability, and having people see my example and hopefully follow it and mimic it and act that way also. That can make Maryville a much better place. Now, you had a question that you asked first before that, and I forgot what it was. I'm sorry.
That's no problem. It was about academia, how you applied it to business, like business companies and so on that have read your book. Because I mean, in academia, you have one kind, even if it's a private institution. So have you had feedback on that? Is your book at Sappos Library, the Pursuit of Happiness Library?
Oh, I don't know about that library. What library is it?
Sappos, that are owned by Amazon, the shoe company.
Zappos, yes.
Yeah,
good question. I don't know. I should probably send them a copy.
It should definitely be there. I mean, they have a whole library about happiness and the pursuit of happiness, and how they, get it through the whole organization.
I was unaware that they had
and Tony C. He wrote a book about that also a long time ago.
He did, Delivering Happiness, which was a good book. So I don't know Tony Shay by personally, but perhaps I'll try to send them a copy. So I remember here's a question that I would love to answer. You had asked, like, how have I been able to apply social media, for instance, in order to help make my transition from the coffee company to Maryville? The answer is definitely yes. And what I would say is that ever since I started using Twitter in 2008, and I started doing public speaking in 2008, 2009, speaking about social media, then speaking about my career transition going from, business and accounting to marketing and communication, speaking about that, then speaking about workplace culture and happiness in the workplace, meeting people, lots of people, going to networking events and just meeting people and sort of transitioning to being an extrovert, someone who really likes being around people. When I was an accountant, I never really went and hung out with the accountants too much, but all of these connections led up to a point, January 30th, 2015, when I was told, after 9 months, you will have to go get a new job. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And I kind of freaked out a little bit. And then my wife kind of freaked out a little bit. And then I told her, by the way, they're going to let me stay employed and paid while I look for a job. And then she felt better. And that was good. Still freaked out a little and probably trying not to show it. But all of that previous togetherness, I will call it, networking, making connection, literally tweeting with people, yes, but blogging, commenting on people's blogs, and honestly, meeting people in person, very important.
Yep.
Led to a point when I finally needed something pretty serious from my community, from my friends, from my connections, from my LinkedIn connections, from my Facebook friends, from everybody. I needed their ears, their eyes and their ears. I needed their help in finding a job. So during the month of February 2015, not only was I trying to launch this book successfully, but I was also making private outreach. I was privately reaching out to people who I knew, asking for their advice on what kind of job they think I should look for, because I had no idea. I was not targeting higher education. And just, it wasn't, I didn't know what I wanted, Martin. I just didn't know. I knew that I didn't want to feel crappy anymore.
Yeah.
That was the one thing. People said, well, what do you want? And I said, well, I don't want to feel sad anymore. They're like, oh, poor baby. But seriously, I just wanted to feel better. And so as I started having meetings with these people privately, I started to realize that there were going to be opportunities for me. And then the coffee company, I needed for them to tell all of their employees that I was going to be leaving the company so that I could take my job search public. And when I say public, I mean post about it on my blog and on all social media. I've never conducted a job search like this. I don't know how often you've searched for a job in the past, but it's usually private because you already have a job. So you can't just go on social media and say, I'm looking for a job. Your current employer might see it. This was the first time ever that I was able to be completely public about my job search. I suppose the first time would be right out of college back in 1993. But back then, nobody knew who I was and there was no social media. There was looking in the newspaper for the help wanted ads and the advertisements. It's a different world now.
Yeah.
So the coffee company made the announcement. And then on March 4th, 2015, I wrote a blog post. I'm going to tweet it to you right now so you can look at it sometime. Possibly you've never seen it.
Yeah, we'll include that in show notes also. Yeah.
I just sent it to you right now. And it is
Thanks, I saw it.
It's called Chris Reimer is Available for Hire. So, and I think somewhere, yes, I did. So I like sports analogies. I think there's a lot of things that we can learn in business from sports. So in the third paragraph, you'll see I say, I am officially a free agent. Free agent, a term meaning it's an athlete that can go work anywhere.
Yeah,
they're available for hire from any company. And so I thought of myself as a free agent. People think, Martin, that I'm so good at all this stuff, right? I mean, people call me the Twitter guru. They call me all these silly names, you know?
Yep.
And I was once ranked, literally, I was ranked the #1 Twitter user in all of St. Louis. There's 3 million people in St. Louis area. I was #1. I mean, if I'm so good at this, then somebody is going to see this and think, I need this guy on my team. So I'm I'm testing this theory. So I put this blog post out. I kept it pretty short. There's a paragraph, 4th paragraph. Here is what I'm looking for. And I was very clear about it. Because by this point, I had kind of figured out, I still didn't know about higher education yet. But I was thinking, this could work. So I put this post out and it completely worked. It was amazing. I started receiving all of these messages from people saying, hey, have you heard about this job? Hey, you should go talk to Martin. He might know something. You know, and so like if someone said, here's a job that's available, that was a pretty solid lead. You know, I could go look at that job. I could analyze, review, and decide if I wanted to pursue it. If someone said, hey, go talk to this Martin guy, I didn't know if it was going to be a good opportunity, but I always went to the meeting. I took every meeting. I had nothing better to do. And you might say, well, the coffee company was still hiring you to work. It didn't matter. I was going and taking every meeting. They told me to go get a new job. So I did it. So one of the people who reached out to me was a professor at Maryville who I became friends with years previously. I was actually friends with 2 of the communications professors at Maryville. And they saw my post somewhere. It was either on Facebook or on LinkedIn, or maybe they just came to my blog. Who knows? But they saw it and they said, hey, did you see this job at Maryville? And they sent me a link to the job. And I had not seen it. I was like, no, that's interesting. I read the job description. It looked pretty good. I was still a little confused about what I wanted out of my future, right? But I was like, that looks pretty cool. Maryville is a 25 or 30-minute drive, so I wasn't so happy about where it's located, which is really funny to think about now, because it's like the job is so great. I would even drive longer way to go to it. But back then I was thinking, oh, it's so far away, you know, in the traffic. So she sends me this link. I look at it. I say, that's interesting. Tell me about who I would be working for. And my friend told me about the VP, the vice president of marketing, who's now my boss, and told me she's a pretty cool person. And then she starts talking to me about Maryville. And we're doing all of this in Facebook private message. She's just messaging me constantly. She said, we need you on campus. We need you at Maryville. Maryville needs what you do. So she knew from all of my previous tweeting and my blogging, she'd been at some of my speeches before. I had done a guest lecture at Maryville back in 2012 that the other communication professor, I did it at her class. So they knew that I knew exactly what I was talking about. And all the work that I do is online. It's all viewable. Everyone can come see a speech anytime they want. So I had built this reputation as someone who knew what they were talking about. So she started recruiting me. And then she started also messaging my boss saying, you need to have him come in for an interview. So there's this person at Maryville, her name is Dr. Rebecca Dorman, who is completely responsible for me having this job and being as happy as I am, because she was recruiting me and telling my boss, you must bring this person in. Here's the crazy thing, though. Maryville was going through a rebranding. So our entire visual identity was changing. It was debuting in April. And obviously during the entire month of February, the entire month of March, they must have been working hard on this, getting it all prepared. And at the same time, she's receiving messages from this communication professor saying, oh, by the way, that really important job you have open, like, which you're not doing much work on right now. The search is not really happening. Like, the job posting is out there, but you're not interviewing anyone because you're busy. You have to stop what you're doing and bring this guy in. And my boss was probably like, I don't have time for this. But she knew how important it was. And the professor was harassing her about it. And so I come in and my boss is very generous with her time. She gives me the time. I have a quick interview. Then I have the second interview, which is with 5 different people, and I get the job. They offer me the job and then I find out that the benefits are very good. Like it's good health insurance, it's good, retirement, all this different stuff. And I thought, I should have been looking for this job earlier, Like I should have been, this is a very interesting life that I'm living now there. I should have been looking for this job sooner. I did not know how interesting higher education would be. So to answer the question, all of the work that I did, both in social media and blogging, and then creating real relationships with people offline, in person matters. It all led to a point where when I needed help, there was a community of people willing to help me.
Great story. And I could reflect where yesterday I did a talk and a workshop on LinkedIn and other social media tools and platforms and so on. And this, one of the things I showed on a slide was this Marketing Hourglass by Jon Jantsch about know, like, trust, try, buy, repeat, and refer. And your example is there of a great example of referral marketing and how somebody giving you warm leads, so to speak, and internally pushing for your position and so on. And I have a thing there, and I will ask for a favor. A good friend called Merle Nilsson, and she has written like a similar post like you, an update on her consultant company that she's working for, but her project is finished, and she knew about that, but she could put an update there that she's also now a free agent. It's in the IT sector and like a project coordinator and other things like that, and she's a really good friend. And I said I will do what I could do and spread the good word, because she had put it on her LinkedIn place also, like one of the sections. And she were able to do that and also put it on the company site. And I introduced her to the blogging world when she ran a marathon in Hawaii, and she did like a journal about her plans and the race and so on, and how she got inspired by doing this kind of adventure when she read about a lady that was, I think, 80 or 90 or something like that, running her marathon. So she says everything is possible. And she has some other ideas about blogging with some other friends that I have been, as a coach, bouncing back and forth. And their idea is great. So I hope they will put that together, and I could help along there. So it's great to hear that story. So thing takes time, as I say, but if you have similar to like nurturing. I'm fan of as you hot sauces and spicy food and chili peppers. I mean, if you put a seed, it takes like maybe 2 weeks before maybe something comes up. And then you have to replant it several times, and maybe a half year later you could harvest your first chili peppers.
Wonderful.
So it takes time. So
that's a great. That is one area where people, in my, I would call him mentor, I suppose, Gary Vaynerchuk talks a lot about having patience.
Yeah.
And a lot of folks, and I'm not going to say millennials. It's not just young people. Everyone struggles sometimes with impatience, and the amount of patience that it can take to achieve what you want to achieve. I think it's great. I have a friend here. He's actually the president of a competing university, Westminster University. His name is Dr. Benjamin Akande. He talks about the idea of having constructive impatience. So he is an impatient man, but it's constructive. It's good. It means he pushes himself, and I can appreciate that. but the amount of patience that it can take to get sometimes where you want to get, some things take time, and to build a community of people, it will take time. Let's just put it that way.
Great, yeah. So that's interesting, and we had a nice conversation here around half time, and it's more than that now. But we maybe talk a bit more if you don't are in a hurry. Is talking about the affiliate here with Audible, and my question is directly: is or when will your book be in audio format?
You mean Happy Work? Yes.
Yep.
That's a great question. The answer is probably never.
Okay.
It's just one of those things where, I talk with the publisher and we haven't pulled it off yet. So I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I kind of was hoping that it would, but right now there are no plans for there to be audio.
But I'm rooting for it, and then people could go to audibletrial.com/ego netcast. But I'm also affiliate for Amazon that owns Audible, so they could go there also, and I will include that in show notes, and I will get your book there. And it's funny when you mention Gary Vaynerchuk. That was the latest purchase I did from Audible when he did Ask Gary V with the hashtag. And it was funny how I used this audio book that people like Seth Godin and others asked questions that other had placed forward. So it was funny way how to use the audio format there. So and I also shared it. You could share a book for free to somebody, and I have a client there that I'm holding her hand in social media, and she wants to do it in over a long time, and I'm very happy with that decision. And then I forwarded this book to her, so she could listen, and she got very inspired. I mean, she will do it in her way, but she got very inspired by his style and how he hustling and how he say it as it is and so on. So yes. That's interesting. And his first book, Crush It, got me inspired with the appendix about starting some kind in the future tea business with my tea interest, that like a the book of a month club, or a book wine club, or a tea club, or maybe a coffee club. Yeah,
for certain. And a couple of things about Gary which are interesting, that that Ask Gary V book, the audio book is much different than the actual book. Like it's and actually when he went and did the audio book, the person recording it, the audio person said, "I've never done an audiobook like this before." Like he didn't just read the book. No. He actually, I believe, read the book and then talked about the book. So there's many words in the audio version that are simply not in the written version. And then the other thing I would say, I always mention this every time I can, is that, his least selling book is his best one. That's the Thank You Economy. Yep. He said it. That has sold the fewest copies of all of his books. And I love to hear that Crush It inspired you. It inspired so many thousands of people. But I've told them, and I believe this strongly, like his very best book is the Thank You Economy. And it is one of the best. It's one of the best business books ever written. Yeah,
and I have it in this orange cover and so on. And so I like that also because it has this story. I mean, back in the day here in Sweden and other places, you had this, how do you say, farmer shop. It was like a small shop, but that you could get everything to your household. And the person there also knew about the gossip, the stories, and knew the customer over time. And that's the interesting thing, how you could then do this Thank You Economy, how you could supply with good stuff and products, and also service, and have a relationship over time. So I often take that. I mean, if you take that old type of merchandising, and then you do it, apply it to this modern day today, that's an interesting way of doing business. So I agree with that. So, and that's also last time we talked about the trader principle. So that's my thing. That you have an exchange of service and goods in a voluntarily way, and that what you did also when you went to this farmer shop, you also get updates and news and tips and so on. So I think that's a great idea. And back in the day, you had talking about coffee, and we will talk about other beverages also. They had this coffee when I started my first, or together with other people, first venture there called Blue Chip Cafe and Business Center. I had read an article in The Economist about the coffee culture in England several hundred years ago. So every coffee place had their own style. So one could be like for politicians, for free thinkers and others. Another could be exchange with merchants and shipbuilders and others transporting goods. And that's how the London Exchange started. Another could be with authors and others. So they had their own style. Every coffee place had their own style, and there they got all the updated things and news and so on. And also they could have a discussion, conversation, and also some even got their mail there because they were there so often. So I think that's still a valid thing, how to communicate and how to meet and how to have an exchange. Do you have any kind of settings there at the university that people could meet and join and have an exchange and a conversation?
Oh, about Maryville. I mean, if I understand your question, there are many places to, spend time at Maryville to engage in conversation. We have, over like 80 student organizations. Probably don't want to talk about this too much, but we do have. We're going to have a presidential debate watch on Monday night.
That's interesting.
It is interesting. So we have, we have classes that, deal with political science, and so those classes will be conducting a debate watch. We've done this now for many years, and so we suspect that Monday night is going to be a big night for this. And so we'll have, I'll be honest, I was not going to watch any of the debates because it's just not good for me to watch those things.
Same here.
Not good for my health, No. But, I could read about it the next day, right? But so wasn't so terribly interested in watching those. But now I have to, because I'm going to go to the debate watch and I'm going to do Facebook Live for broadcast for Maryville. It will be, the one thing about me is I cannot resist an amazing piece of content. I have to go get it. It's just, I'm like and I think of myself, and it's funny if any of your listeners are, social media practitioners, whether current or up and coming, I always I think of myself as a journalist, go get, in English we call it, go get the scoop, get the story. And you have to hustle sometimes to get the story,
Like a citizen journalist,
Yes. So if you think of a journalist, sometimes they have to go to dangerous places and ask tough questions, as they're doing their investigation. And I always think of myself as, you got to work hard and maybe go do things that other people are not willing to do in order to get the piece of content. So, I don't like to work tons of hours. I like to come home and spend time with the family. And I really don't want to watch that debate, but I can't resist the piece of content. I have to go do Facebook Live. I'm going to go there and interview the people who are waiting for the debate to start. Yeah. I'm hoping to get, people clapping when Trump comes out and people clapping when Hillary comes out. It should just be very interesting. So,
and I will do an interruption where I talked to Gary Scholes a few conversations here back, and we talked about free speech and the debates, and I have tweeted about that and so on, because I am same as you. I don't want to watch the debates in a way because how it is between these two candidates, and I had been rooting for that they Gary, the guy Gary Johnson would have received 15% of how do you say the polling, the mainstream media
Gary
doing a poll,
Johnson.
but he didn't get it. But I still think he has a chance that he will be in the debates later on. And then it will be much more interesting to watch, because then the students could see the traditional, and then we could see a third alternative, and then maybe it could resonate to them in a different way. So I really hope that for America's future and for the whole political situation that could happen. So that's interesting to following along, and it's also here in the media here in Sweden, others how they report on the issue. But there again, you could go to social media, and you could find out alternative news sources and so on, and find maybe a bigger picture how it's really working. Yes. And I mean, when I was in college. In 97 to 2000, New Hampshire, of course, was an important place to visit. So I've been there when MTV tried to get everyone to vote in their rock and roll way, so to speak. And I mean, I was an older student there because I've been working for 8 years, so it was not my cup of tea. But I understand why they did it. And then, I mean, this guy, a sore loser, what's his name now? The Democrat there, that lost against Bush. He was on stage, and then Bush was waving from his ranch in Texas and so on. But it was like a jippo or a gig, a musical gig. But it was pretty interesting to be there at the place and watch it, and also tell others about how the importance, because I understand the importance of the smaller places in cities and states and the whole electoral college. So that's good to know. And I think many should watch. Have you watched the HBO documentary or the movie John Adams?
I have not, no.
I recommend you that you watch that. It's the second president of the United States, and it's a great story about how to find happiness and how to, come to sense with the different colonies to get together, and also, as you have talked about your wife, also to have somebody on your side to walk the straight line and to follow your principles and convictions and your values. So it's a great TV series. It's 3 parts, I think. John Adams.
Cool.
Good. So what's, in short, now we talked about what's happening and what you're doing now. Future plans, besides the debate and Facebook Live. I haven't done Facebook Live yet, so I better do that someday.
Yeah.
Maybe doing some tea tasting or something like that, yeah.
I think that would be good. And
yep.
I have not done Facebook Live for myself personally, but I've done it on behalf of Maryville University, 10 or more times. And I have to say that they've gone very well. People have really, and it's not, here's the thing with Facebook Live, it's not a matter of people actually watching live. Like I don't promote, hey, I'm going to be going live at 8:00, I could do that. Yeah. And I could get lots of people to be watching live, but I don't do it. I go live, I get some viewers, and Maryville has 7,400 people who have liked its page, I think. It's climbing, and I think maybe 15 or 20 people maybe have watched live like at any one time. But then the video lives on your page as a post once you're done. It stays there as a.
Could you pin it so it will stay on the top, or will it go down?
You probably can.
Yeah,
you probably can. I haven't done that, but yeah, it stays on the page, and then you can promote it. You can pay money to have more people see it. So the video, you don't have to watch it live. Most people are not watching their videos live. So I recommend it. It's been for Maryville. Even the videos that don't get tons of likes, they're still very useful to the people who are interested in them, whether it be I'm doing Facebook Live with the new soccer coach, or I'm doing Facebook Live from our local botanical garden at midnight when it's called the corpse flower, you know, that huge flower that smells really bad when it blooms.
Yeah.
You know, it opens up. So I went at midnight. I went and did Facebook Live with our biology professor who was at the, you know, it's just interesting stuff like that. As far as future plans go, I do have this second book. It is in progress. It's going to be a book about social media. Yeah, I have not done very much writing for it yet, but I have many, many notes. And so I need more of a plan to like work on it. I need to make some time to work on it. I've been very busy at Maryville, and I have not spoken with my publisher about whether they want the book or not. So I'm not worried about it. I will put a book together and they'll either want it or they will release me. They have a contract for like an option on my second book. So if they want it, I guess I have to go with them. But if they don't want it, I'll just self-publish it. And I could get a couple thousand people to buy it probably, you know. And this is an important work for me also. You know, the first book was important to me because workplace culture matters and happiness. Human happiness matters to me a lot. But doing social media well is also important to me. Just doing communication in general well is very important to me. So I'm looking forward to publishing my thoughts on this matter. And so I can imagine that this book probably will not be out for at least 2 years, but I guess I should be patient and I need to actually, as Gary would say, hustle. I need to like sit down and I need to work on this book and I need to write some chapters. I need to start writing. I've done a little bit, but not enough. So that's my plan, is to get this book finished.
Yeah, and I think that's a great idea, and I look forward to it. I mean, my main thing will be a physical hardcover small book, but I have ideas about the e-book also, like to the donors and the backers and so on. And we could talk more about that at some other time. So, and I mean, updated, like when Chris Brogan did, or was it Guy Kawasaki when he did on Google Plus? He did it also an ebook that he could update and so on. So, yeah, it will be interesting to follow along there, Chris. So, more about at the end here. You should of course plug your site where you could find people, listeners could find you and so on. And also, if you have something, I will include that the free agent post. If you have some other things that you want to direct them to the book or to the future products, you're more welcome to mention that.
Thank you.
Where could people find you, Chris?
Well, I would invite all of your listeners to connect with me on LinkedIn.
Yep.
My LinkedIn. Well, just search for Chris Reimer. There are several Chris Reimers, but if you're interested in finding the real me, you can go to linkedin.com/in/RizzoTees. That was the name of my old t-shirt company. So RIZZOTEES. And I'll even just send you that just in case.
Great.
It didn't come through. But I can also be found.
Thanks.
I don't actually spend a lot of time on my website anymore, to be honest, but chrisreimer.com. chrisreimer.com/happywork is where you can learn more about my book. And if any of your listeners are interested in purchasing it, Amazon is a great place to purchase it. And I'd be honored if anyone decided to read it because of our interview. I spend a lot of time on Twitter still, even though Twitter is not as great as it used to be honest. But twitter.com/Chris Reimer, REIMER. I would love if a listener sent me a tweet and just said, hey. I always respond, and I like making new friends, whether they're in person or not. It's Twitter's been, over the years, an amazing place for me just to learn more about myself, learn more about the world around me, learn more about business and communication. And so even though it is deeply flawed, it is still probably my favorite social media place, and I'll probably believe that until it dies or gets purchased by Facebook, right?
Yeah, I say the same. So and that could be interesting to continue the conversation about Twitter's challenges and so on. So that's funny to hear. And I think I have that I had the first conversation with new guests. I often ask them about suggestions of future guests and or topics. Do you have any in mind, or somebody that you could direct me to, so I could tell my virtual assistant, artificial intelligence, Amy at x.ai, about that, or artificial intelligence in the domain name that you got booking, before we met here?
Yes. Your artificial intelligence agent was quite intelligent, actually. It was a little bit weird.
Yeah.
But I think that you should, and I'll tweet his name to you right now, and I'm pretty sure that he'll be interested in doing it. But there is a gentleman, a friend of mine, he's also a St. Louisan, but he's much more successful than me and travels the world doing his work, and his name is Dave Gray. Yeah. And he has a brand new book out called Liminal Thinking, and he would be a brilliant guest for you to have on. And so I just tweeted the both of you, and he should be willing to come on your show. Thanks. Because he has a new book out and he needs to sell it. So I think that he should make the time for you.
Yeah. That's great, Chris, and I appreciate that. And that also what have happened during because I'm, as you said, hustle with this podcasting, and done it for a long time, 10 years time now, and it's to get this regular schedule again. And one thing is to get guests in the pipeline, and I also like authors and others that have reached out to me to get on board. What I like with this is that we followed each along with from the Riso Teas time and so on, and about our passion for bacon and other things like that. And that's why I want, because it's some years ago when we met, and I wanted to have you on the show again. So I will continue with the individuals that I have interviewed. So it's about 35, 40 people now. So I have some time to do, but it's good to get tips on new guests also, and people, authors, entrepreneurs, small business owners, and others that want to come on the show. So I appreciate that very much, Chris. Thank you very much for that. So now about beverage. You said about wine. You don't drink that 24/7. It's coffee that you drink. How often do you drink tea? And please talk about your wine interest also.
Yeah, so I drink coffee in the morning and I drink wine in the evening. So truthfully, I don't drink coffee all day. I don't enjoy coffee in the afternoon or the evening. It is not something that I ever do. Coffee is very much a morning ritual for me. Yeah. And I hate to disappoint you on your turf, but I don't drink tea very often, to be honest. When presented with a tea, it can be wonderful. I can go to a friend's house and he always has very special teas, and he has this little Japanese tea set, and we use it, and it is always very wonderful to be with him because of the tea, and he's a wonderful conversationalist. But other than that, I'm just not drinking tea very often. It's coffee, then water. I have eliminated the number one American beverage habit of soda. Don't drink it anymore. Yeah. So no more with that. And then I drink wine in the evening and sometimes beer, but not very often. So you're thinking I should work tea into my drinking regimen, huh?
Yeah, that would be a good thing.
You think so? I like this.
Yeah.
I think that
we will come up with a tea blend for you, Chris. I don't know if bacon will fit in it, but we will find something that is according to your taste there. That's one of my products that I have, that I want to do special personalized tea blends. But my mission is to educate, entertain, and engage people in the plant as it is. It's same fascinating plant as the coffee plant, and also wine and so on. how you from this plant you get this wonderful beverage. So I will tag along with this idea, and I also have some direct contact with a company in India about very fresh and great tasting tea, because it's as you've probably found out in the roastery business, depending on when you're picking it, when you roast it, and where it's coming from and so on, you could get all these kind of different taste experience.
Yes, for sure.
So, but I like what you said about, and it's not to be against or versus, but what you said about your conversationalist friend that had this tea ceremony with the Japanese way, and that's one of my goal to go to Japan and participate in a tea ceremony. I'm drinking this, and I'm also a independent distributor of a tea called matcha green tea in powder form. So that's have been a ritual for me also. So,
wonderful.
Yeah. So I like what you say, that you sit down and you have a conversation about tea, because the coffee, in my way, understanding is that it's more of a kick, but of course it could be a conversational beverage too, like wine. But it's a bit interesting. You could see the differences and the commonalities between these different beverages.
Absolutely.
So now you probably have finished your coffee and you start on your way to the college, right?
I am about to leave the house. I need to leave in a few minutes to get to the university. I have somewhat flexible work schedule. You know, I work a lot of hours during certain times of the year, but during what I call the school year, when I say the school year, I mean my daughter's school year. Mm-hmm. I drive both of them to school, and so it doesn't allow me to get to work as early as some other people, but nobody seems to care. You know, I just tell them what my schedule is, and they allow me to take my daughters to school. You know, this is maybe in Sweden this is not a novel idea, but here, you know, having some flexibility is not always the case. So but I will leave for work shortly, and we have a crazy day today at work. We're shooting we're shooting a video today that is going to be a huge challenge for us. So I'm looking forward to meeting the challenge, hopefully.
Best premise with that, Chris, and thanks again for the time and the conversation. And a call to action here, stay tuned and go to egonetcast.com/support, and there you see different ways of how you could support the show. And Chris, please say some ending notes here before we hang up.
Well, I want to say, first of all, it's, you know, for someone who I've never met before, you know, I can feel a real friendship between us, and this is a very interesting form of friendship that some perhaps older generations don't always quite understand or embrace. Of course, back in the day, you know, in English we call it a pen pal, someone who you would write a note to over the years and use traditional mail, and you'd never meet this person maybe until you're, you know, many years after writing all these letters, and you feel like you know the person. Well, this is the new form of that. And I feel like I know you, and interestingly, with social media, I've made so many acquaintances like that and learned so much from people. So I really want to thank you for having me on the show. And I should say one more thing about my book. Again, it's called Happy Work. Yep. One word. I made a new word. I put the words happy and work together. And depending on where you're at in the world, I'm hoping you'll be able to find it for sale online. Amazon definitely has it.
Great. Thank you very much for that, Chris. And I say likewise. And talk to you soon again. Have a great day.
I would like that. You do the same. Thanks so much again for having me on.
Cheerio.
Bye-bye.